Hello, good morning, good afternoon, welcome. I'm very pleased to be joined by Sami Alisawi. Sami is a hydrogen analyst at BNEF or Bloomberg New Energy Finance, to know from the full title. So welcome, Sami. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Great to see you.
You are obviously one of the many in the hydrogen team there at Bloomberg. You're going to be speaking at next week's World Hydrogen UK event. 10th, 11th April. So obviously recording this in April 2024. So maybe with your sort of outlook, you're responsible for a lot of the data and you're really looking at a lot of the projects and where we are sort of globally in the path to using clean hydrogen to decarbonize. And obviously we've seen a vast swathe of announcements. What's the reality like? What's your data telling you, and what's your sort of big picture view of where we are in the development of clean hydrogen projects?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's looking good in the sense of there's a lot of ambitious targets being set. Globally, we have a lot of governments already set 53 markets, in fact, have set hydrogen strategies. So a lot of ambitious enthusiasm there. When we talk about developers' ambitions, we have a lot of planned projects that currently we track. Total plant capacity is somewhere around 190 million tons per year in
Mhm.
total of all projects that have been announced. Like you said, let's look at the reality of the situation of where we're at in terms of ones that are being, pa past FID or final investment decision, ones that are beginning construction, and in fact, those that are operational. If you look at those, though, we'll find the story is different. It's less than 2% of those have actually passed to those committed stages. Of that total capacity I mentioned that's operational, it's even much less. So so there's a lot to be done there. And if we think about how much we're going to need at a certain point, because let's put some context. Today, the demand is around 100 million tons per year of hydrogen.
Yeah.
So we're on track to displace a lot of that based on the announcements. But like I said, the reality of the situation, a very small percentage has actually is progressing as we'd like it, at a decent pace. There's that problem there. And then, of course, if we even look further by 2050 to reach the net zero goal, we still need to see a much bigger scale up of hydrogen projects, and
Yeah.
not just those that are planned, but those that actually get past it to commission phase. Yeah.
Yeah. And what is your take on what why is it taking time to get
Yeah.
to FID? I think from my perspective, I think there was always some kind of irrational exuberance or some real uh, you know uh, uh, unrealistic expectations about
Mhm.
how long it will take to build some of these projects. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
Right. I mean, yeah, like you said, off-takers are not lining up to
Mm.
to to off-take a lot of this hydrogen that is planned to be produced, and that's why a lot of these production projects aren't moving forward, right? Because you don't have that many off-takers. And then buyers of that hydrogen, of course, are also not lining up to get it because it comes at a high cost, at a very high price. And if we look at some recent news, like I mentioned to you, if you look at the recent uh, auction that the UK did as part of their first round of allocation, where they granted somewhere around $2 billion to around 11 green hydrogen projects. They landed at a strike price of $12 per kilogram. Now that's 6 times higher than that of gray hydrogen or unabated hydrogen that's produced from fossil fuels. And keep in mind, $12 is the weighted average price of all these projects. It could change. And why it's so high is because, you have rising electrolyzer costs, you have high grid costs. And for a lot of these projects, uh, you have the disadvantage of high power purchase agreement prices as well. So that's sort of what got this price to be very high. And that's why $2 billion were spent across 11 projects. The subsidy the UK offers is around $10 per kilogram, and that's the difference between the strike price that they landed on and the reference price, which is the price that you get for gray hydrogen today.
Yeah.
You have taxpayer spending a lot to uh, sort of get these projects realized, and then buyers of hydrogen are going to be they're not going to be incentivized to get this hydrogen at this very, high cost. So,
Yeah.
so I think that's one of the main reasons why a lot of these projects that we see are now moving forward.
I mean, so from all of those projects, how many do you think are actually going to get to fruition? Is that something you're studying, or?
Well, we're actually, yes, we are working on a publication right now to sort of identify which projects are going to go through, most likely, of course, and when, not just which ones, but when in the coming years, 2024, 2025. Because like I said, we have a lot of projects right now on the ground with planned commissioning dates up until 2050, but we don't know which of these are actually going to be realized. And we took a bunch of these projects that are sort of in the near term are planned to be commissioned. And we, based on analysis and modeling, we want to figure out which of those are most likely to get commissioned. And like I said, more importantly, when. So that's yeah, hopefully coming soon. It's a work in progress, but I think that's going to be really good in giving an insight of like of sort of a realistic picture of what the capacity is going to look like in a year or two in terms of production, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's some high costs in there, which aren't just around capex, but
Yeah.
obviously long term opex. It costs money to buy green hydrogen. And what are your thoughts? I mean, you mentioned the UK there, the strike price. That they obviously have a number of sort of or two major projects or clusters. What are your thoughts around the clusters and the regulatory environment around trying to bridge that gap and that price and going forward?
Right. Well, one example of those clusters that I mentioned in the UK was the HyNet Northwest cluster. And what it does is, in a great way, it bridges that gap of supply and demand, which is, again, no off-takers to off-take this hydrogen. So that's why supply is not moving forward as it should. So it's pioneering in that sense, where you have at the center low carbon hydrogen production, and then you spread it through all these industrial facilities, all these industry users around the site. You have, from steel to cement production to gas production, and you have a lot of CCS sort of plants, carbon capture plants around to capture a lot of these process emissions. And, I feel like developments like this, they sort of uh, found a way around that challenge of finding off-takers by
Mm.
the nature of how this cluster is built, right? You have
Yeah,
the production there, you have the demand there. It's like it's sorted. And again, going back to the example of HyNet cluster, it's looking like they're doing something right, of course, because it's expected to take FID or secure financing by towards the end of this year by September.
yeah.
So it shows that what they're doing is a good way of bridging this challenge that the market has, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. See, yeah, specifically, yeah. I'm trying to obviously take out that midstream, reduce that, and yeah, get that project going, and then it's those kind of projects which will hopefully then start pulling hydrogen down the cost curve, and we'll begin to see technology and steel going in the ground, and some of the engineering challenges which still exist and which still need to be
yeah,
proven in order to access further capital and maybe begin to grow the industry. And I mean, in terms of the, I guess, big picture view, obviously, Bloomberg pulls together a lot of your data from all of your offices. What are your thoughts for the sort of big picture for the sort of growth of the clean hydrogen industry? I know it's something you continually refine.
right, right, yeah. So, well, I'll give you numbers that we've had from a report that we released in 2023, and what it showed was, well, as of today, some 90 million tons per year of hydrogen being produced and consumed. And that's, of course, unabated hydrogen, grade hydrogen. And where we think it's going to need to scale up by 2050 is it's going to need to be more than 5 times that in terms of the demand. There's going to be that much demand, around 500 million tons per year. And mostly it's going to be in industry hard to abate sectors.
Yeah.
So that's why these types of sectors need to be targeted right now, and these are the ones that that's where the challenge lies most with. And again, going back to these clusters, they target these hard to abate sectors in such a way to bridge that gap, and that's what's going to be needed. And not to mention, of course, how much investment is still going to be needed until 2050 to reach that ambitious goal, the net zero. So still a lot left to be done, of course, to realize these ambitions, which mainly is going to come from, which mainly could be driven from governmental support, as we're seeing nowadays, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Many thanks, Sami, for taking time out of your schedule to share your thoughts. And as I
Pleasure.
mentioned, you're gonna be speaking live next week in London. So yeah, we look forward to meeting you face to face and listening to your insight. And thank you for all the work that you and your team are doing. It's always been a leader in the energy transition, certainly for the last 20 years. So yeah, many thanks, Sami.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Cheers. Take care now. Bye
Okay.
bye.
See you.